Hey Luke, how you doing?
Not too bad.
Excellent, nice to see you. I'm standing, actually, viewers won't know this, but I'm standing right right in front of the air conditioning outlet for this room. So I'm actually freezing from the waist down, but the things I do. So GForce Software, a new face, I've not met you before, but you guys have been smashing it recently, loads of stuff, a lot of successful partnerships with the Oberheim brand, and this is the latest, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So obviously this is our latest in the line of Oberheim plugins that we've been doing, developed obviously in close collaboration with the crew at Oberheim and Tom Oberheim himself, obviously. So yeah, this is the latest iteration, which is based on the Oberheim 2 Voice and the 2 Voice Pro. So obviously the original 2 Voice came out in, I think it was 1975, and was kind of Tom Oberheim's first really fully fledged synth with the keyboard and all after the SEM and the maestro effects. But yeah, so we've kind of based it a little bit on both. The TVS Pro came out later, really just added like a bigger sequencer, more modulation options, that sort of thing.
The original 2 Voice was like a beast. Somebody lent me one for a couple of days, and it was just I was like, oh my goodness! I mean, it's so authoritative, isn't it? It's an amazing synthesizer.
It's beautiful, honestly. And speaking of being cold over there, we'll warm you up with the warm tones.
Oh,
of the
very
sounds,
good, nicely done.
I'm throwing a cheeky joke. Anyway, so obviously this is the latest iteration of this Oberheim range. So I guess for those who haven't used any of our Oberheim plugins before, the base of it really is this, the SEM. So the front panel of these SEMs is very much what you'd come to expect from the original Oberheim SEM. So it's 2 oscillators, 2 envelopes, a filter, saw, pulse wave, pulse width modulation. The only places where, and an LFO as well, actually, of course.
Yeah.
The only real place that we've sort of diverted from the original here is just being able to sync the LFO, and also on the original you would have had an external input for this third VCO. But I'll take you on to kind of the next part now, which is the rear panel of our SEM, which is where we've kind of expanded it and added our own sort of take on the SEM. So in place of that external input, we've now added a third VCO, which has saw, sine, and square shapes. You can also go into LFO modes, synced, all that kind of stuff.
Nice, so quite an expansion, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Switchable LFO shapes as well, new feature as well. I guess in place of having all the patch points on the original, we've added this kind of like velocity mod section really, which is just essentially how we kind of reintroduce a bit of that modulation into this SEM. So obviously with the 2 Voice, you have not 1 but 2 SEMs. And I think really, the beauty of this instrument is kind of how it limits you. And we were kind of very careful, I guess, to try and maintain a lot of that limitation.
Yeah, you haven't made it sort of polyphonic. You've just gone for
Absolutely. I think really as I'll kind of go to explain or to demonstrate really, for me, I think that's the beauty of this instrument, and it really just takes you to places that, to be honest, a lot of other plugins won't. I guess maybe before I get into that, I'll just maybe walk you around the rest of the plugin quickly, because I think we'll probably touch a lot of it. So obviously you also have a sequencer. You actually have a dual sequencer, and this is kind of like our front panel view of it. So you have access to both sequencers. You can't see much right at the moment because they're both identical, but you have a lane for gate, velocity, ratchet, and the panning per step. You've also got assignable steps from 1 to 16. Swing, you can change the number of octaves, the rate, the kind of things you'd expect from a normal sequencer. You can also lock it to a scale between major, harmonic, minor, melodic, and natural. Changeable modes as well. So then obviously we have like our output section that's kind of just basic levels, again panning per SEM, and the option to solo each SEM, because as you're kind of programming them it might be useful. And then we've got a sort of like basic effects section as well. So we've added a phaser, a stereo delay, and a very lush reverb, which you may recognize from some of our other Oberheim products.
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, you've really pimped up your effects recently, GeForce, haven't they? So yeah,
big time. So I guess like in terms of how you interact with all this plugin, obviously there's kind of lots of ways we can mess with 2 SEMs at once. And for a while we kind of played around with the idea of having this sort of like I guess, open system where you would connect keyboards to stems and sequences to stems. But to be honest, we just found that actually there was just left us with a lot of configurations where someone might press a key and not get anything out of it. So we've kind of bundled these up into this series of keyboard presets. And really it's split between what we're calling key, sequencer and mixed. And yeah, it's really what you would come to expect. So, you can have the keyboard playing mono, a single stem, unison, split between the keyboard. Yeah, the type of stuff you would expect. Sequences and then mixed. So, you're holding a key, you're playing a stem and mono while a sequence runs in the background, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So that's really the crux of it.
Well, let's have a listen.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess like I was saying earlier, I think for me, the magic of this instrument really is the limitation of it. So, taking one limitation with a duophonic synth chords, right? At the minute you think, okay, I can only play 2 notes on my chord, but because we've got 2 oscillators per stem on the original,
I guess you could tune them as well.
And an extra, right? So yeah, for this, I'm just going to take you through we're dialing in like a 7th chord on the a major 7th, on the stems. We'll increase the volume of the saw on each stem, and in fact, this is probably a good opportunity as well to show you. We've also added these edit modes for the stems, so it's just to allow you to make these edits quicker.
So group, yeah, makes sense.
Exactly. So group mode lets you kind of make a change on one stem, it'll be reflected on the other. Offset is, if we had some change here, it'll maintain the relationship between them, and I find it's usually good for kind of performance mode stuff. But yeah, for now, let's lock the frequencies back together. And yeah, I guess now that we've tuned our major 7th chord, we can throw it into unison mode, and now we've got our chord on a key, basically. And so I think at that stage then it's nice to maybe start adding in getting a sequencer involved. And I guess once we want to make more extensive edits to the sequences, we have this second page which lets you get a full view at both sequencers.
Right.
And yeah, that lets you just do, I guess, it lets you see everything all at once, and that's obviously important. So switching into a unison sequence in this case, because we want both stems to play our chord, we can get something running here like this. And at this point, it might make sense to... I'll just turn it down while I'm talking. So at this sense, it might make sense to kind of, let's start editing our sequence. Obviously, we've gone for this kind of skeuomorphic design, which maybe isn't always the easiest to edit when you're wanting to make broad edits. So we've added a couple of things like a keyboard shortcut, so you can make large edits all at once. Or also, if you just want to explore, we've added this, which is like a randomize section. Okay, so the idea is then that you can decide how much random you want to introduce. Hit random, and now we've got a kind of a rhythm that we can build around, okay? So the next thing I would do also, again, just in terms of exploring, is introduce an element of random to the velocity per step too. But at the moment, we haven't assigned our velocity anywhere. So I think something that's nice to do in this case maybe is to introduce a bit of velocity to cutoff modulation. So now we've got almost like the chord is opening up per step. I'm just going to introduce... sorry, I actually should have done this on both as well. We'll make our change here. Also, I should just point out the coronas on the knobs are there to indicate how much range of modulation we're adding with the thing. Yeah. So if we add this in... Just tune that a bit. I also find as well the group mode is particularly useful when you're in this kind of split panel view, because you know that you can kind of get a full view at both stems at once. So it's nice to make changes that way. Okay, we've got our chord sequence. I guess it's being modulated. And again, I think talking about the kind of limitations of this setup, maybe a nice thing to do really is to get the second sequencer involved and start trying to like play this split chord off itself, you know?
Yeah.
So switching to this like dual sequencer now. Now we've got sequence A, sequencing SEM 1, and sequence B, sequencing SEM 2. And then we can do things again. At the minute, we've still got our like default sequence on sequence B. Again, if we want to make quick edits to that, we can send sequence A to sequence B and just like match those up quickly. And again, maybe it would be nice to, let's make a polyrhythm with each sequence. So then all of a sudden you've got kind of different velocity values, the filter cutoffs opening up different per thing. So you can get this kind of ever-changing sequence, right? And we're still only playing a C root note, you know? Maybe add some of the effects in, we'll just give it a nice kind of spread over the stereo field. Just kind of, yeah, I guess lean into that nice little harmonic sound of the stems. Maybe the reverb as well. And then from there, yeah, I guess if there's anything else we want to do, we can add a little bit more movement into them and maybe start introducing some differences in just the stems themselves. Right. So we'll come out of the group mode, you know, maybe let's add a little bit of cutoff modulation again, still with the LFO on 1. Change the rate to take these two stems LFOs out of sync and just add a little bit in. We'll start to hear the kind of the two bottom notes of that chord, the first and the fourth. Yeah, popping out at different places again, same with this one. And again, I'd say this is probably actually a good opportunity to show you as well how the kind of the group and the offset mode might work in a performance sense, where we can use this to kind of dial in that modulation and create something a little bit more subtle and quiet. And then when we want to bring things up in the performance, you know, we can bring it out and make things crazier and... Exactly. So yeah, at the moment, obviously, as well, we were just playing the like no trigger mode on the sequencer, but of course, all of this is like assignable to the keyboard. So here we'll have a sequencer split on the keyboard. So anything played above this split section.
Ah, so you'll be sequencing each half. Oh, that's interesting.
Exactly, and of course that transposes it too, right? So I'll actually, what I'm going to do is just tune this B down an octave just to bring it back closer to our original note so we can hear it properly. But yeah, so we can still play this and be sequencing this around. And we can introduce the second one then.
And that is the second one doing the polyrhythm sequence, right? Okay, nice.
Exactly. And again, we don't always have to play the same notes. You know, we could introduce the seventh on this and the root note on this one, and we'll start to get these interesting relationships between the sequences. And for me, like I said, I think that's just something that, I don't know, I think you don't get there without the kind of unique set of limitations that instrument brought originally. And for me, again, why it's just so important to have maintained a lot of that. And yeah, like I said, that's really just one example. I think once you get into doing sort of bass and sequence splits, you know, leads and chords, like there really is just a world of possibility in what seems on the surface like
and it sort of follows the original sort of philosophy of the SEM, which was a simple yet flexible synth voice that could do a lot of different things, right?
Totally, exactly. That's it really. I think when the core sound is that nice, it's really not about doing anything super crazy, is it? It's just about playing with that really great core sound, I guess.
Excellent. And this only came out a short while ago, didn't it? Is it still on offer?
Yeah, so at the moment it's still on offer. So if you're buying it in the UK, it would be £66 excluding VAT full price. But it's half price at the moment, so £33. And if you're in the US, I think it would be roughly $79.99 excluding VAT.
Right. Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for coming to talk to us.